But it's crazy. I mean, I feel like the last couple years has been a blur. Like I really went like 0 to 100 with sim racing. Like I was in the studio the other day here just kind of cleaning up, and I was looking around and I go, this really escalated. Like like when did this happen? Like, you know, it's just
that happens
it's
to
wild.
me all the time. Like
when I'm into something, I go really deep, right? I think that's the thing.
That's all of us right there.
Yeah, no truer words.
Yeah, that's all of us. That's what's up, man. Hello and welcome to the Chicane Podcast, where we discuss all things in the sim racing world. I'm your host, Jason Rivera, and I'm joined here by Mr. Eric Kelly, Jeff Smart, and a very special guest today, Michael Pagliaro, the creator of the SimRacing Den. How's everybody doing today?
Hey, welcome, Michael.
Thank you for having me, guys. Doing really good. Been looking forward to this.
Michael, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Thanks for your previous message onto the show was awesome. And I had no idea that Michael was a active listener of the Chicane Podcast on his morning commutes. So that was kind of cool to hear.
Dude, it's always cool. It's like the first time we had Konstantinos on, and now that Michael, when I jump into the studio and you see, you know, the face that you've watched on YouTube for so long, you're like, holy cow, like they're in our podcast. So it's always special to have a guest, especially, you know, high profile one like Michael here. So humbled to have you, buddy.
Yeah, no, happy to be here. I'm glad I reached out. You know, it's same for me too. Like I've been listening to you guys in the car for the last, you know, month or so, because I started a new job, so my commute's a little bit longer. So I said I got to jump on a podcast, and I said, okay, let me see what other sim racing podcasts are out there. And then I came across you guys, and so yeah, and now here I am sitting here on the podcast, which is pretty wild. So yeah, no, the pleasure is all mine, guys, and I'm glad I reached out. I think it's always important when you see something that you like and you enjoy, you know, I just wanted to drop you guys a note and say, thought it was cool what you're doing. And yeah, and then look, it leads to this, right? We get to know each other. That's the thing I've loved the most about the sim racing community is it's been really easy to connect with people, and that part's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it's the best part of it is the sharing and talking about different experiences. Everybody's experience is different. So I've been I think we all have follower on your channels and your Facebook group as well, your sim racing setups, you know, especially Eric. Eric was the one that told me about the group from the get.
Yeah.
The group is
I remember when you guys hit 100K.
Exploded.
Yeah. That was
when
crazy.
they hit 100,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Well, as of right now, I think we're 120,000. We're over 120,000 members.
Crazy.
Which makes it, I think it is the biggest sim racing group on Facebook that's not like a marketplace group, like a more of a general group, which is just mind blowing to me. I don't know what happened, but we can get into that later.
It's peaking.
Yeah. So it's really cool. It's a cool community. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, today I'm just gonna go over a few updates that I have for you. So I will be starting a weekly stream for the Porsche Cup Series on the Global iRacing League.
Yeah.
And I don't hate to say this, but you know, it's something I have to put out here is iRacing has become my main sim now. It's really difficult.
Say it ain't so.
It's been really hard to scratch the damn itch on racing, and every time I jump in the rig and go on LFM, I'm seeing races being canceled, and I just want to race with other humans. And iRacing has always just he's got his arms up like this, like, hey, come on, I'm here.
You know, it's so funny that you say that because, you know, for the longest time you were trying to get me into iRacing, and then now that I'm like full into it, you're like, hey, buddy, there's this game called ACC out there. Do you remember that? You remember that poor little game we've been playing? And now you're like, nah, I don't need that game anymore. We're all in on iRacing.
Right. So, I mean, to be fair, I've always said that iRacing, it's not the prettiest looking game, but when it comes to the driving, there's no sim that even comes close to it. I mean, I'm applying the same techniques and a little different, right? Because the ACC wants you to slam on the brakes on the initial braking phase. But iRacing is, I'm excited. So I spent a lot of money over the weekend.
It adds up.
Well, I'm officially in the 40 club, if you guys know what that means.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not even gonna put that out there, but I'm officially part of the 40 club. But the Chicane Podcast hit 1,000 followers just before this interview. And
that's awesome. Congrats, guys.
That's awesome,
thank
man.
you. Yeah, I
Thank
know.
you.
I'm excited. I'm like shaking. And this is only the audio version. The YouTube side it's seeing us something about 1,500 views already. So thank you. This is you. Thank you so much for checking us out every week. We do these every Monday, and the plan is to have something for you to start your week off.
Yeah.
But and I think Jeff has something to put out as well
Yeah, I'll
before
give
we
a
get
quick
into
update to my my iRacing or my driving week. So I've been complaining. Complaining is probably the right word about getting rear-ended and some carnage along the races. So I don't know why I just jumped in a C license Formula class. Was it like the F3 car? And let me tell you, boys, those dudes can drive. There's some serious talent rolling around in there. I think, Jason, I sent you a picture of a dude, a license at like I rating of 7,000.
Yeah, 7,000 iRating.
Wow.
Bro,
That is
that's
alien.
ridiculous.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
that's an alien numbers right there. I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen one like maybe half that. But anyways, yeah. So, dude, super clean racing and competitive. Boy, it's fast, and most of the races week 12 were in Virginia, the full course, and that track is awesome. If the listeners haven't jumped into the Virginia, I forget the actual the street course, but the full course with the F3 car is full on. That's a heck of a track. Elevation changes, second gear, low turning, tight turns, full high speed turns. Great track for wheel to wheel racing. Now, with all that said, about week 12, how awesome it was, I'm going to go out there and say week 13 in iRacing. Now, this is my first week 13. Week 13 sucks, dude.
Week 13 is trash, bro.
It's terrible.
Yeah. There's nothing. After all the praise I gave the game about it being available, that 1 week is just the 1 week, though. And I'm waiting for this McLaren 720 to drop. At the time of this recording, it's not here yet.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed because I went and downloaded the update and I wanted to jump in the McLaren and try it out. But yeah, I guess they're waiting for, there's probably some licensing or things, contractual things that were behind with McLaren. And that's why I think it missed the update, which is kind of
Papaya rules, man. Papaya rules.
Papaya rules. I love that. I love that last weekend. I thought that was so cool that they have the code word for it.
Yeah, papaya rules.
The papaya rules, they should have maybe a little bit different. They might have been able to challenge Ferrari, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's about the extent of a few announcements that we wanted to make before we get into the special version of this show. And I am going to open up with the first question for Michael, which is not even it's not really a question. It's kind of like, well, I guess it is a question, right? Just we want to know. Tell us about yourself. Like, tell us who you are, and tell us a little about yourself, Michael.
Yeah, for sure. How much time we got? I don't know. I'll keep it quick. Yeah, I mean, so I guess where I'm at today is because growing up I was a car kid, and it was partly because my dad was really into cars. Grew up with Hot Wheels and Lego, like a lot of guys. And then naturally, my dad was really into computers, and we always had like the newest thing when it came out. Like he was always on top of that stuff. So I remember playing racing games at a really early age on a beige computer. Like I'm really aging myself now, but So yeah, I've always been into technology, gaming, and cars and motorsports. So it's not surprising that I naturally gravitated to sim racing. I'm actually surprised how long it took me to actually get here and build my first setup. A lot of it was just, timing, budget, space, and things kind of aligned in the last 3 years to make that sort of first setup happen. A lot of people think I've been doing this a long time, but I've really been, I would say, seriously sim racing, or not seriously, but really into it in the last 3 years. And the channel is about 2-3 years old too. It kind of all started at the same time. But yeah, outside of this, I do have a normal day job. Not a full-time YouTuber, so I'm constantly balancing that with a life. I'm married, no kids, so I do have a little bit more time than others. But busy job. I've been in sales and as an account manager for most of my life, over 20 years, selling different things. I'm all about relationships and meeting new people, so I think that's helped me in that career, and has also been helping me in this new endeavor in terms of building relationships with the community and the industry. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Really enjoying what I'm doing right now, though, but it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun too.
Man, that's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy how much we relate to each other, man. It's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of us in this hobby, especially us who are really kind of engulfed in it, there's always the first thing is the love of cars. Like, I think anyone I've talked to, that they had at least that somewhat there, or whether it be racing, and had some, a lot of us are gamers too, right? At some point. So it's interesting. We all have a lot in common.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's all of us, right? Around the 3-year mark. Except for Jeff. Jeff is our newest.
Yeah, I got my renewal license for iRacing this week actually. So there's almost 1 year anniversary of getting a rig.
Oh snap!
Yeah.
And that was the first game you actually like bought, right? I mean, you don't buy iRacing, or you do, right? It's like $10.
Well, it's a membership,
Yeah.
essentially, right?
Yeah.
I might have bought it and then like never used it. Like I said, Jason got me into ACC, so
I got him started there, but then he flocked.
Yeah, I didn't start with iRacing. Yeah, but it's crazy. I mean, I feel like the last couple of years has been a blur. Like, I really went like 0 to 100 with sim racing. Like, I was in the studio the other day here, just kind of cleaning up, and I was looking around and I go, this really escalated. Like, like when did this happen? Like, it's just,
That
it's
happens to
wild.
me all the time. Like
When I'm into something, I go really deep, right? I think that's the thing.
that's all of us right
yeah,
there.
no truer words.
Yeah, that's all of us. That's what's up, man. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right.
So, Mike, I do want to kind of piggyback off you. Tell us about yourself. You kind of got into your sim racing story,
Mhm.
but as far as how you got into it and how it began,
Yep.
what was, I guess, like that initial, thing that kind of switched you on? Because I know you mentioned you played video games. Was it always racing games, or did it like eventually flip to like, okay, now I'm doing racing games, now I'm doing sim racing?
Sure. Yeah. For me, it was always racing games first. The first memory I have of just gaming in general was playing the original Test Drive on like a very old computer.
Okay.
And I think it was even black and white. Like, it wasn't even color till it was Test Drive 2. And like, you're steering with the keyboard and braking with spacebar, like that kind of thing. And my dad
Damn,
had,
spacebar.
yeah, like, not, this is like really old. And I don't even remember how old I was when I first started, but I remember my dad downloaded this game, floppy drive, put it in the computer. He's like, oh, you got to check.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was already into cars and playing with Hot Wheels. So he was like, you got to check out this game. And I think for me, the thing about that game that is such a memory for me was it was the first game where like you were like inside the car and you could like turn on the lights and you could turn on the windshield
yeah.
wipers. And I think that really gravitated to me. Like, I was the kid that used to build like a fake car setup in my room and then like sit in it. Like I had the toy wheel and I would build like I would put my radio here, like a console, and I would pretend like I'm driving in my bedroom.
Oh
So,
yeah.
you know, and so as I got older, I mean, I grew up in the Gran Turismo era, so I was playing all the Gran Turismo games.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric, I know Eric's a big Gran Turismo guy, but like I was flip flopping a lot too. Like I would flip flop between like Xbox and PlayStation. It kind of just depended on what my friends were into. You know, at one point we were really into Project Gotham Racing, so me and my buddies would
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
race.
yeah.
Do you remember that on Xbox?
Yeah, I forgot about that one. That
Yeah.
one was
Yeah.
good.
Oh, that
Man.
was awesome. So we used
Yeah.
to race online. Like this would have been an Xbox 360, I think, at the time, and we would race each other and you know crap talk each other on Project Gotham online all the time. And then naturally, and then Forza came out, and for me, Forza kind of brought me back to that original test drive of the like driving like open road, and I always thought that was cool. So then I was really into the Forza games, and then naturally gravitated towards Forza Motorsport 7. And so Forza Motorsport 7 was the game I was playing when I built my first sim racing setup. So, and it was all kind of a timing thing. So my wife and I had a condo like closer to the city. It was like a loft style condo. There was no space for a sim racing setup, nor was she going to let me get one in that apartment. And so when we bought our first house, which we're at where we're now, I was getting a home office with that. So I was really excited just to have my own home office. And I started, you know, I had a really big model car collection. That was my other obsession, which I still collect a lot. So the office was mainly all of my model cars. And then I decided, as I was playing Forza, I said, I think I'm going to try this sim racing thing finally. Like I knew what sim racing was, and I was watching, you know, I was watching Barry on Sim Racing Garage. I was watching Will on Boosted Media and doing my research. And I eventually I decided, okay, I'm going to just kind of dip my toe in a bit. I went in a little bit further than most people start off with. Like I didn't start with like a Logitech or G29. So I went with a Fanatec setup. So I had a DD1. I got a track racer. Yeah, I know. I know you're thinking like that's kind of not an entry setup, but I kind of knew, like knowing the type of person I am, I kind of knew I was gonna want something a little bit better. So I was kind of trying to future proof myself. Which
Cry once, man. That's
but
mine.
that didn't work. I've cried multiple times now. But but the point of Fanatec was that I said I'm gonna start with my Xbox. I already own an Xbox Series X. I didn't have a gaming computer. I was a Mac guy. I always had a Mac for doing productivity stuff, but I'd never built a gaming computer. I was always a console gamer. Like the sim racing PC that I have here, even though this is like the second iteration of it, this was the first time I ever had a gaming computer. I got a gaming computer specifically for sim racing. So originally I thought I'll just stick with the Xbox, and if I'm really into this, then I'll look at a PC, I'll look at iRacing. That didn't take very long. So I had a Fanatec DD1 on a track racer TR8 cockpit, which is like a tube frame cockpit. It was a nice cockpit. Like it was pretty sturdy for what it was. And I just did a Fanatec setup, V3 pedals. I got the Fanatec shifter. I think I had the handbrake at the time, and then like nothing else. And I had the Formula wheel and I had a GT wheel, and which was a pretty big investment for a first time sim racing setup still. And I was just playing Forza Motorsport 7. And then I started realizing that there was going to be some advantages, obviously, to moving to a computer. So it didn't take long. I didn't want to build a computer, so I just went and bought like a pre-build. And then I eventually ended up, that pre-build didn't look the same after I was done with it. I ended up rebuilding a whole computer and then went down that rabbit hole. So
oh yeah, you got it. This is crazy. It's like I'm listening to the story.
Yeah,
there's only like one variation here and there, but I pretty much followed
same journey. Eh?
Yeah. I ordered mine from nzxt.com. My pre-built.
Yeah.
Then
I just went to like Canada Computers here, which is like a micro center kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
And but then I really I actually enjoyed building the computer out. And then the second computer I built, I don't know why I did this. I built a water cooled computer, because I thought that would be fun, and that was a bit of a nightmare, and I had an incident with water everywhere, and said, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing this again.
Ooh,
You had
yeah.
a small flood over there, I see.
Yeah. So the
Man.
computer that I kind of went back to a more simple air-cooled computer. You know, the computer I have now is super powerful, but the computer has gone on its own journey along with the sim racing setups, which is so different now as a result of, you know, reviewing equipment and things like that. Naturally, I have different things on my rig now, but yeah, that's where it started, you know, and it's like I said, it moved very quickly because I think, you know, as soon as I really got into it, I knew this was going to be like my forever hobby and my forever thing. And I still feel like that. I don't think I'll ever not be doing this to some extent ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, Mike, I kind of want to, follow on question to that. So you talked about, you started with the Fanatec setup. Kind of explain to us and our listeners over how you went from that setup to where you are today and what you're currently have in your rig, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a bit of a gradual thing. Um, I had started the channel at the same sort of shortly after I had sort of got the computer and started upgrading a lot of things in my setup. I started reviewing things that I was buying, but I still wasn't receiving a lot of hardware. So there was a point. I basically kind of drew a line in the sand and decided to rebuild and create an entire new setup almost. And that was when I moved from Fanatec to a SimiCube to Pro. I upgraded my rig. I had come across Advanced Sim Racing, and because they're a Canadian distributor, you know, it was like free shipping, and price wise, it worked out. I didn't have to pay customs or duties. I actually reached out to them. They were like super helpful, and I said, look, I really want to upgrade what I'm doing right now, and I'm going to be starting this YouTube channel, and I want to kind of go deeper into this. And so, you know, I ended up getting the ASR Pro, it had just came out. Like, I think they told me I was one of the first people to get an ASR Pro chassis, which was their
nice.
sort of latest chassis. Like the aluminum that they use, it comes directly from Canada. It's like, I think it's the thickest profile for a chassis. But yeah, it went from ASR Pro, SimiCube to Pro wheelbase, and then I did the Huygens sprints. Was sort of my
Okay.
first. I upgraded. Yeah, I upgraded from the V3 to the sprints for a little bit better experience. And then the big move obviously was when I was running the Xbox and the Fanatec setup, I just had a TV. Like, I had one OLED TV. It was like a 48-inch, which was really nice. But I moved to triples when I built this new setup. And when I moved to triples, I was like, wow, okay.
End game. That was
Yeah,
that
I
did
was
it.
like, and I think that's for me when I got really hooked. You know, I'd built out the triple setup. I had the computer running, and so yeah. And then through that, I mean, a lot of different accessories came and went in terms of button boxes, and then, you know, with the SimiCube wheelbase, I was now not locked into a Fanatec wheels, so it was like, okay, what other wheels can I get as well, right?
Yeah.
I
Cause
remember one of the first wheels I bought was the Grid MPX, I think, and it's still
Damn, bro.
my favorite wheel. It's actually back
Yeah.
there right now. I took it off
the
the
Grid
rig.
MP. That's
I love that wheel. But naturally, I have a lot of other wheels in the den. I've been fortunate to be sent a lot of things, so naturally the collection has grown. But yeah, as far as the setup, it's changed quite a bit now. We can, if you want me to kind of go into what I'm currently running, I can talk to you about that a little bit too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
yeah.
I'd love to
Yeah,
hear it, and I'm
so
sure the listeners would too.
yeah, so
Yeah.
where the setup is now is, so I still have triple monitors, but I upgraded to the Samsung G7s. So it's still a
We're
14.
running the same. Dude, I have the
Yeah, we got
G7s
the
right
same.
behind me.
You and I are two alike, man.
I know. That's freaking crazy, bro.
They're, you know, 1440p, which honestly I think 1440p is a nice compromise when it comes to frame rates
Well,
and
for that
resolution still.
size,
Yeah, they're 30.
1440p.
So I have 32-inch. They're curved, right?
Yeah.
I do like having curved monitors. Like, a lot of people ask me, you know, I'll get questions sometimes like curved or flat. It doesn't make a huge difference, but there is a little bit sort of a perspective thing. But it looks cool from the outside too. Like I like the way it wraps around. So, but I don't think it's not going to be a huge night and day difference. But yeah, it does help a bit with the sort of feeling of being surrounded.
Yeah, it
Uh,
kind of wraps around you like
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Mine
yeah,
was at the 1500R, so they don't wrap as much as the Samsungs do.
yeah.
But
These are 1000R. The
yeah,
first triples I had were an MSI monitor, which were 1000R, so it wasn't as an aggressive curve. But yeah, I upgraded to these monitors at some point, and then yeah, wheelbase got a bit of an upgrade. It's a SimiCube 2 Ultimate because SimiCube had sent me along a bunch of things to review. So, I kind of did a comparison between the SimiCube 2 Pro and Ultimate. It's a lot of money, the Ultimate. I think I said in the review, like, it, it's
I
maybe
got the
not
Pro,
necessary.
man. I
Yeah,
don't.
you're good with the Pro. You're good with the Pro. Like, the Ultimate, there's some very fine things that you notice, but I don't know if it's worth the jump in price. But yeah, if anyone wants to check out the review I did on that, I touch a lot on that.
Maybe if you're a what you call this
Pro driver.
no,
Yeah.
an athlete, like an Olympian trying to
Yeah. Like I don't run it
Yeah.
anywhere
train
close
on
to
the wheel.
30. Like I don't run anywhere close to 32 Newton meters. I don't think I go over like
32.
20, in
Sheesh.
most. And if you're in a GT3 situation, which is usually what I race when I sit in the rig, you don't need 32 Newton meters even,
Yeah, it's gonna
So
get you tired fast too. Jeff can
Yeah.
attest.
yeah. But the main game changer with the Ultimate is that slew rate, the torque. Right?
Yes.
So that does make a difference in terms of responsiveness. I did notice that slightly from the two Pro. So yeah, I mean, I'm running it because it was sent to me, and it's
Why
a
not?
fantastic wheelbase. So
Because why
it's
not?
it's gonna live on the
Yeah.
rig, right? So my 2 Pro, like I had bought that with my own money. I don't sell anything that's sent to me for free, so I ended up just selling the 2 Pro to a good friend of mine, actually one of the moderators on our Facebook group. So so SimiCube 2 Ultimate Wheelbase, as well. I have the active pedal brake as my brake, which was a review sent from SimiCube, and I have their passive throttle. So I don't have the SimiCube active pedal throttle, which I honestly, for the throttle, I don't know if the active pedal is 100% worth it for the throttle, but there are some cool effects. But yeah, I just run a 2 pedal setup. I actually don't do a lot of manual driving in my main rig. Like usually on the test rig, I'll have a shifter so I can test out different pedals, test out the clutch pedal. But in my main rig, when I jump in and race, I'm racing GT3, GT4. You're not switching gears.
GT4,
other
nice.
than the paddles.
Mm.
So yeah, still the ASR Pro cockpit. Like this cockpit is a tank. Like I don't. There would be no reason for me to change my chassis unless I had to change my setup drastically. It can support a motion system maybe one day.
Oh, so you're not running motion then?
No, I have no motion. I have, so for haptics underneath, I have kind of modified the slip angle haptic kit, which is another thing that I reviewed on the channel. So there's, I have 4 corners, front, left, and rear. I don't run it with the springs and the isolators just because it doesn't work with this chassis for me personally. But those transducers alone was a big upgrade I had a butt kicker Gamer Pro for a long time, but having the 4 corners now is really cool. Like I can feel the difference between front and rear and corners when I go over rumble strips. I cannot, like, I always tell people with sim racing setups, once they've sort of got everything kind of locked in as far as the standard hardware, I said get haptics, because it's like I cannot race without haptics, guys. Like I cannot. Like I get in someone else's
me
rig,
neither.
or I go to an event and they don't have haptics. It just feels
Car
like
feels
something's-
dead.
The rig feels dead. It comes alive with haptics, and so yeah, the haptics running, and then recently I added the you can't see the seatbelts right now. I took them off, but I have the cubic system.
Now I'm
QS
really thinking about that,
BT1.
man.
Yeah. So this review,
Let's hear it.
I just did this. This was the last review I just uploaded, and this has been the newest thing that's been on my main rig, is this belt tensioner system. The video has been really popular. I think the product right now is really popular. You can tell by all the chatter in their Discord. There's a lot of people interested in this because, if you were on the fence for something like motion, or you just needed that extra immersion, I think a lot of people are curious as if this can kind of scratch that itch, so to speak. I was really, I guess, like hesitant about it at first. I was like, is this going to be a gimmicky thing, or is this going to be a real game changer, or is it really going to add to the immersion? So, in my conversations with Cubic before they sent it for review, they said, look, just give it a go and let us know what you think. And it's one of those things that, and I mentioned a lot of this in the video, is there is a lot terms in terms of the setup and getting your rig set up to support it. But once I got it dialed in, it was like, okay, this is pretty cool. Like the first time you fly into a corner and slam on the brakes and the belts press you against the seat, it's a really insane experience.
And they actually vibrate too, right?
They do.
They have like a haptic thing built into them.
Yeah, they use a combination of haptics as well as kind of moving and manipulating the belts, basically. So for like when you gear shift, they kind of pull them slightly, so it feels like when you're shifting, you're getting that feeling that you're kind of jolting as you would kind of in a real race car. It's pretty convincing, honestly. And even like the engine vibration, you can set it so you can feel the engine vibration through the belts. So when you're sitting in the pits and you fire the car on, like your body's shaking. Like it's different than having just the haptics underneath the seat and your rig. To feel it here is interesting. So
Man.
yeah, it's cool. Like I don't know. Like in the review, I said I think it is worth the money. If it's one of those after things. Like once you've got everything else, it's probably a nice add-on. But I wouldn't say run out and get this on a basic setup. Get some other things maybe upgraded first, which would be probably more impactful in the beginning. But when you've sort of like, where some of us are at, where we've got a lot of things, really nice stuff on the rig, it's kind of like that extra thing of going, okay, this is cool.
It's cool. I was watching the video, and you can see like the view that you had behind it. You can see the seatbelts just going.
Yep.
Just tweaking back and forth, and then obviously the little LED in the kit in the back, or like the kit in the car,
cool.
was a nice little touch, and the brake light effect. Yeah,
they had some fun with it. Yeah, that directional G-force is actually a really cool effect. That actually impressed me the most, more so than the braking of this. Like when you corner, it's manipulating the opposite belt, so you get this feeling of the direction you're traveling. So it's really strange, right? Because in motion, even with a motion system, it can tilt and pitch and roll, but you don't get. I would almost say the effects on the belts is more useful from a performance standpoint, because what I was getting a better understanding of was my actual speed going into a corner, like going into a braking zone, is if I slam on the brakes too late and I'm now really putting a lot on the brakes, I'm feeling that. Like I'm like, oh, I'm braking way too hard here. Which with the active pedal, you can get some of that from ABS and things like that, but it's you can't get that feedback from anything else. And if you're already it's not going to make you fast off the bat, but if you're already fast and you know how to use that feedback to your advantage, I think in the right hands, it's going to be really cool. But for me, just like normal guy, I don't have fast lap times. It's just super immersive, and I'm all about immersion. So yeah. That's kind of the rig. I got a couple different button boxes. I used the Pro Switch panel. I use a SimCore SDC1, which I control different effects on. I've kind of simplified a lot of my things here, and then I have
SimCore, the Australian.
I really like
impressed.
SimCore.
Yeah, man, I've
got a lot of SimCore accessories.
I got the shaft extension, and when I mean shaft,
too.
I mean the shaft on the motor.
I got my shaft extended too. Yeah, I got it.
Boys got jokes.
And even Jeff got his shaft extended there recently, but I don't think he's running it yet.
No, maybe when my new wheel gets here, we'll see.
Yeah, SimCore is nice, man. George from SimCore, I talk with him regularly. He's a really cool guy. He's always thinking, like, that guy's mind never stops.
The quality,
he's always
man. Dude.
Thinking of new ideas, and it's all those little hacks and those little things that like you didn't even know you needed for your rig, and you're like, oh yeah, I need one of those. He made a really good. I think he makes one of the best DDU mounts, which I have, which is the Lev 1 adjustable mount. It's like you can add all these little pieces to your DDU mount to get it exactly where you need it. And for the person with the rig that needs that, it's like a lifesaver. Like they're not they're not cheap, but like you said, the quality, everything's metal, everything's CNC'd. You know,
Right.
it's just
It's a buy once and kind of,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
It's kind of like sim racing jewelry, I call it. It's nice stuff, and you put it on your
Yes.
rig, and then
That's such a
I like
that's a
that.
good one. I like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
We might steal that.
I'm gonna patent
Oh, yeah.
that. I got patent that. Put it on a t-shirt.
You need to put your name on that. Sim racing jewelry. That's awesome. I loved it.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean that's the rig. I have a WinSim kit, which is I don't use it. I don't think WinSim kits are useful for simulating speed. I think like something like the belts is more useful. But I honestly, it's air conditioning because it gets
Thank
hot.
you.
It gets
Thank
hot.
you. I was getting ready to attack.
I just set it to like a set amount, and it just keeps me cool. I got 2 fans blowing on me right here, and best upgrade I made to the rig because it can get hot because people forget you've got 3 monitors surrounding you, and these things give off heat. And then you got my computer
maximum
right
brightness too. They're all on max brightness. Like damn.
So yeah, I mean that's the rig, and then there's like 20 wheels on this pegboard beside me, which you know, a lot of them I kind of use regularly, and a lot of them are review units, which is cool. And I keep them around because I think for me it's about being able to compare things. So it's really easy for me now when a new wheel comes in to like pull another wheel off and go, you know, how does this compare? If somebody asks me, I can kind of give some good feedback. So, but there are a few I would say the wheels that are my go-to have always been the grid wheels. The grid MPX, like I said, I use that wheel all the time. It's just a nice all-rounder, even though it's not round, but it's a nice all-rounder wheel. And I like the Hyper P1 GSI. I have one of those, which is a really cool wheel. But yeah, man, it's fun. The setup is always changing. It's always surprising. Like I never would have thought I would have a belt tensioning system on here, and now, I said it in review. I can't race without it now that I've tried it. Like if they wanted it back, I'd be sad. That's my honest opinion. Now, do I think it's for everybody? I don't know. It's like I said in the video. I pointed out a lot of things in the review that this is what I try to do in my reviews is try to look at all the little details that you might not be considering before purchasing it.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the rig, you know, ever growing, ever changing. But like, I mean, I'm super privileged and happy to have it the way it is right now. And the only other thing that I still want is I do want some sort of motion at some point. I know that. I don't know when that will be because that's still really expensive, way out of my budget right now.
Send out a few emails, man. See if anyone bites.
Yeah, if somebody wants to send one for review, sure. But yeah, it's even without motion, I think I'm really happy with the setup. Like I get in the rig and it's a lot of fun. Never gets old.
Yeah, those haptics really do add another level of immersion.
Yeah, you have haptics on your rig?
I just have just the butt kicker.
Yeah, that's all you need. Honestly,
Yeah.
like the buck, just having something, it
You got
just
pedal kickers. I mean, pedal.
Oh, that's right too. Yep, I do have.
yeah, those
pedals.
are cool. I've tried the
Yeah.
Sim Magic ones. I had those. I had those on. I think I had those on my Hoisenville Ultimate Plus pedals at one point.
Those are my pedals I run. The
You got the
Ultimates.
Ultimate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would have if SimiCube hadn't sent me the active pedal and throttle, I would have still had those on the rig right now, because those up until now have been the pedals that I've been running the most. Are the pedals that I was running on my main rig. Like the test rig goes through different pedals like every month.
They're pretty indestructible. I say that. They're heavy. Those pedals.
They're really well made. I mean, you've got tons of adjustability if you want to dial them in, but I always just like the way the braking felt with those. And yeah, they're a well-made set of pedals, but there's a lot of options these days now. It's hard making decisions.
I know. Back then you had a very crazy margin. You had the beginner and then just straight up in the 1,000 range. Like there was no mid range.
Nope.
The mid range there's a lot going on right now. Like I just got a set of the Moza Racing CRP2 pedals. So those are actually mounted on the test rig right here right now. And I've just sort of began running those through the paces. But yeah, this mid-range category is really growing. Like, you know, Sim Magic P1000s and these kind of pedals is really interesting. They're all trying to compete with each other, which is good because we're getting better products as consumers with all this competition.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's quite the in-depth rig.
Yeah.
Hey, so let's transition here a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the SimRacing Den and what it is.
Sure. So, SimRacing Den at its core is a resource for sim racers. It's hardware reviews, guides, tutorials, my honest thoughts and impressions when reviewing gear from the perspective of a fellow sim racer, someone who has spent money on sim racing gear and someone who still spends money on sim racing gear. So
it's never done.
the name the SimRacing Den was because growing up, so when I was really young, my grandfather had a den, and the word den, I realized it doesn't translate to certain languages. Somebody in Germany said it was kind of a weird thing for them, but for most people in North America, a den is like a home office, or a den by definition is where you pursue your hobbies. I think if you look it up in the dictionary. And so that made sense for me to call it the Den, because growing up, my grandfather had a den where he used to build model planes and play flight simulator like the original one. And then my dad called where our computers were the Den. So when I created my home office here, it became the SimRacing Den. So yeah, the idea of the channel was I wanted to kind of welcome people into the Den. I was going through this experience of building out sim racing, and I had no friends around me to talk about it with or get excited about it with. And I thought what I was doing was cool and wanted to share it with people. And so, yeah, it's just started with me deciding that I was watching some YouTube videos and I thought, hey, maybe I could do this. Maybe I could try and do this just for fun and see where it goes. And so I just picked up my iPhone and I did a tour of my home office at the time. Really kind of just shaky video, bad audio, whatever. And then I started just reviewing things I had bought, right? Just like, let me give you my impressions of some of the gear that I have. And yeah, I think where it really became a channel, where I really realized that this was going to maybe be something I would continue doing was, and this happens with a lot of YouTube channels, is you have what's called kind of like an outlier video or a video that goes viral. And it was a guide that I did called So You Want to Start Sim Racing. And the reason I made that video is partly because I wanted just to provide some sort of basic answer to a lot of people would ask me like, well, how do I start sim racing? So the idea of the video was just very basic, high level knowledge of what makes up a sim racing setup. And I put together that video because I was running out of things to review that I had bought. So I was trying to do some different videos, and that video has almost 1 million views now. And it really skyrocketed the channel because I remember I woke up, there was like a lot of views after I posted it, and I was like, oh, this is insane. And then I woke up the next morning and it had 10,000 views, and it had brought in thousands of subscribers to my channel, and they were watching now my other reviews and videos. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. So, and that brought me over the hurdle of the monetization, or like, a lot of YouTubers look at the monetization as like the benchmark. For me, it wasn't about the money. It was about, once you're in the partner program, you're sort of like an established channel. So that was really cool. It was a cool experience. And I think, I was getting a lot of positive comments that motivated me to keep going with it. And naturally, I just tried. My goal was always to just get better with every video, try to be better in terms of the information or the look or the filming or the audio. It was always just trying to improve with every video. And I was having a lot of fun doing it because I had not really done anything like this before. So it was a whole new thing. So yeah, that's, I guess, kind of the story in a nutshell.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to hear.
I might have clicked on this video. Who knows?
Yeah, a lot of people did. It's
I
not
might
my
have clicked
best.
on it.
It's not my best work, but I think a lot of people found it useful. It's a
No,
video.
it doesn't have to be your best work. I mean, I
think it's that sliding scale over. If you have
Right.
really good information, it doesn't have to be, the highest quality,
Content is key.
Content is key.
Content editing skills, and if what
definitely.
you're saying is incredibly important and people want to listen, it doesn't have to be produced super well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and then where it became a review channel
and audio
was,
too. Big time.
Yeah, audio is very important, and video.
Yeah.
Where I transitioned to doing hardware reviews and actually receiving review units was interesting because it was just one day I got an email in my inbox that I had set up for the channel, and it was a marketing manager director from Thrustmaster, and he said, I just seen some videos on your channel. I like what you're doing. Would you be interested in reviewing some of our gear? And I was like, oh, okay. I thought it was spam at first. I had to
Yeah,
look
be
up the guy's
careful.
name because I wasn't really a huge channel at that point. So I guess it was a little bit flattering to be recognized by a hardware company. So I said, yeah, like, so how does this work? Like, cause I've never received equipment. He goes, I send you the equipment for free and you review it, give us your honest opinion on it, and keep the hardware when you're done. And I was like, oh, okay. Guess
Sound like a
that's how it
plan.
works.
Twist my arm with a
So
good time.
I took it really seriously though as an opportunity. So when the stuff came in, it was the Thrustmaster TGT2, which was the previous like Gran Turismo flagship wheel. I know
Yeah.
Eric, you know that wheel.
Yep.
And it was the T128, and it was before it was released. So they were sending it to me as an unreleased product.
Nice.
So I had an embargo, and sort of like with that product, I couldn't talk about it, show it, and had to review it. It was, their entry level, replacing their entry level wheel, and along with their TLCM pedals. So I was like, wow, this is insane. Like they're sending 3 things from your review, but then the task of doing the review now was like, I was like, oh, do I know what I'm doing?
The pressure. I
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't pressure. Like for me, it was like for me, what was the most important thing to me and always has been is giving my honest view on hardware to the viewer, right? It doesn't matter if something was sent to me for free, whether it's a really cool product or not. I really put that aside and I look at it at is this something I'd want to buy if I was spending money on this? Because if I'm not doing that, then there's no point in doing this. So that was always the goal from the beginning. And so, yeah, I took it really seriously, and the privilege of having that opportunity to review a new product that hadn't came out. People were going to be making decisions on reviews. So I really wanted to make sure I covered a lot of things. And that's where the first time where I kind of decided to elevate the way I was making videos was when I did those Thrustmaster reviews, was really think about like the actual look. So I really tried to do something different. I moved locations. I started filming in my kitchen because I wanted like a different backdrop. So I did all these. I used that opportunity, those products to experiment, and that I think really is what jumpstarted the channel as a hardware review channel. Because after that, it was sort of like naturally, other companies started reaching out, and I started having relationships and conversations with marketing teams it's usually marketing teams from these companies that handle a lot of this outreach to creators. So yeah, it's been a wild journey, man. The last 3 years has been crazy. It's a lot of it is a lot of work, especially if you're trying to do a job during the day as well.
Yep.
It is all my free time. It is all my free time now, and I'm not complaining about that. It's a lot of fun, but it can be a grind sometimes for sure.
It's a breath of fresh air that
Yeah.
you said it's your honest opinion of the topic. I think a lot of times it comes with a stigma when people say in their reviews, oh, XYZ company sent this to me, for their, but they didn't have a say in my opinion or whatever. But then, you're
Yeah.
not on a video review to say that right now. You're just giving, hey, this is how I got into it. This is what I stand by.
Yeah.
For you to say, I'm going to tell you how it is, straight, no chaser. It's kind of a breath of fresh air. So we appreciate
Yeah,
it.
it's not about the financial gain. I mean, there obviously is. I do make some money from doing this as a result. That's just naturally how YouTube works and how affiliate programs work. But the way I look at it is that, what I'm saying and what I'm reviewing, a lot of people will not believe that sometimes, but it wouldn't make sense for me to do it otherwise. And any company that's going to, like, I would never do a sponsored video by a hardware manufacturer. Like I do have affiliations with distributors and things like that, which I don't think that has ethically any issues. But like I would never do a sponsored video and they want to control what I'm saying. It would just never be a thing I would do. And I would say most of the companies out there are actually pretty good. They all understand the rules, and a lot of them will come to you and say, there's sometimes there's formal agreements, and all that agreement is that I'm going to send this to you and you're going to make a review video. Just, we need to know that that's going to happen. Outside of what you say is want no control or no say in it. So a lot of
Yeah.
companies are really cool about this. Like I don't think I've really encountered anyone that's wanted to control what I say or do. And if they did, I just would say no. So
Yeah. That'd be a
Okay.
disaster for them if they did.
Their reputation would be destroyed.
it would be
Exactly.
pretty obvious. It would become pretty obvious pretty quickly.
You actually go viral again. I mean, with a video like
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So, Eric, I think you have the next question here.
Yeah, and just hearing about you talk about your YouTube journey, which congratulations, man. The success you've had in the past 3 years has been crazy, and it's awesome to hear that you're like having fun doing it. I
Yeah.
always admire people who find their passion and also find success in their passion. That's great. As a fellow content creator myself, kind of, on my own journey, want to know about some of your, I guess, challenges that you faced on the content creator side.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of challenges along the way. I would say the biggest one, and it always is time. Um,
Yes.
there's a lot of things that if I had more time, I could, it would be a lot easier, right? So a lot of the content creation, like I have a full-time job, right? I have a full-time career, and that is still for me my number one priority. That's,
Mhm. Yep, same
I,
here.
I my primary source of income. I could
Mhm.
not sustain the same life on the income from YouTube. So that to me is a priority. And when I do the YouTube stuff, that's sort of dedicated to my evenings and mostly the weekends, because I find
Mhm.
during the evenings it can be tough.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of my weekends weeknights testing and racing and using hardware, and then the weekends is kind of when I do the filming process because it's a little more intensive. But yeah,
Mhm.
time is a challenge. Um, yeah, I mean, when I started, it was just sort of there was a lot of learning curves to overcome. Like I said, I had no experience with doing any kind of content creation, let alone any kind of photography whatsoever. So the camera
Mhm.
that I have when I finally upgraded from the iPhone, that was the first camera I ever owned. I bought a Sony camera. This is the first camera I've ever had. I'm still figuring it out.
Nice.
Like I
Nice.
just I just recently dialed in, like I think I finally dialed in my color grading because my color was always off. Like reds always looked orange, which is kind of a big deal for me. So
Oh
because
yeah.
that's my branding. So I'm always like I'm still learning right now. It's a constant journey, but I spent a lot of time watching YouTube videos about how to make YouTube videos to kind of just get some
Yes.
tips on Final Cut or get some tips on audio. Like anyone that's starting doing this, the amazing thing is that if you're trying to start a YouTube platform, all the information to start your YouTube platform is on YouTube, which is
Yes.
crazy.
Already. Yep.
It's right
So
there. You're
you know
home.
if you but it's time and energy, right? Like I'm not gonna lie, there's nights where I get home after work, I had maybe a busy day at work during the day, and you have to fight. Like I'm like, I don't feel like, it sounds silly because sim racing is fun, it is, but sometimes you're like, I don't feel like filming right now, or I just don't feel like editing, I'm just not in it. um, some advice that another YouTuber gave me was sort of like, recognize those times when you're feeling kind of burnt out and just take that time. Don't force it
Yeah.
because the content won't feel good, it won't look good. So I
Mhm.
kind of respect those boundaries that sometimes myself when I don't have the energy. But there is some pressure, right? Like it's busy now. My schedule is busy because I want to review a lot of different things so that I can provide my audience with that content and that value. And the more products I review and get hands on ultimately shapes my experience with them. Right. So I'm
Yeah.
constantly trying to do a lot, but I've started to recognize when, okay, I need to step back a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, learning curve, time, just energy, those are some of the
Right.
challenges.
I mean,
Yeah.
I am 100% brand new to content creation as well, and I've already experienced that. And I think we've chatted before, and I mentioned that sim racing is, racing inside your rig. Sometimes it's good to just shut down the cameras, shut down the microphone,
Yep.
and jump in the rig and just run the laps and have a blast, because that's how you got here. You know what I mean? That's how, not how
Yep.
you became successful, but that's where it began. You know what I mean? That's
No, it's the core, and it's easy. And I don't speak for other sim racing YouTube content creators, but I'm sure there are times where we get wrapped up in, testing different hardware and doing different things. And sometimes it's just nice to sit down and go, I'm just going to do a race right now. I'm not going to turn off the cameras. I'm not going to be taking review notes on the hardware, because when I'm testing, I'm
stopping the. Wait up, guys.
yeah, because when I'm using a wheel, when I'm sent a new wheel, like I'm driving, but I'm also thinking about, how's this button feel? How's this, is there flex? Like I have this eye for things now, because that's important to me now, right? But yeah, it's a super fun job to have, to do this. I look forward to it. Obviously, for me, it's still a passion project, and it comes with more positives than anything close to negatives.
Oh, yeah.
For me. So yeah, I'm grateful for the opportunities that I've had with it, and yeah, and the community, like the comments that I get really help. Like the negativity, it's there. Once you're online, there's going to be negative comments. It's so small compared to actually the positive, like, hey man, great review, or love what you're doing. Like, and that stuff really is really cool to see, and it keeps me going. Right. And it's the same reason why I was listening to you guys and dropped you that note, because I liked what I heard and what you guys were doing. And I think it's important that when you recognize something, you see something, you gotta call it out. So
that made
yeah,
our
man.
days. I hope Michael.
Yeah. Oh, and it made mine too, to kind of connect with you guys, and then like here we are, right, having a nice conversation. So
hell yeah,
it's cool. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's the journey. That's kind of the challenges. I think it's the same challenges for a lot of creators, but reviewing hardware is different, right? Like it's a lot of, like, I've taken apart sim rigs more times than I'd like to. I think a lot of people would like to have done it once, like,
Man.
And I'm not young. Like I get sore and bending down, changing pedal sets and cursing, but it's fun, man. I love, I love as the tinkering and the hardware and the technology side of this hobby, sometimes more than the racing. Like it's just really cool to get hands on a lot of different things and understand, how things are made, how they work. I find it very interesting. So
you got some skills, man. I've seen a video where you built the roof for the rig, because I'm thinking about building one.
That was a really popular video, and I was really surprised. Like, and it's funny when I go on our Facebook group, I see a lot of roofs that look very similar. So
You're definitely,
I wasn't the first one. Look, I wasn't the first one to build a sim racing roof, but there was definitely some inspiration from that, and that's what I wanted. When
came
I was
out clean, dude.
When I decided to build, I was kind of really happy with it. I'm not using it right now because it just doesn't really aid. And when you're in and out of the rig filming content, it's not ideal. But I do miss it, because honestly, like, just if you were just put a blanket over your monitors right now, anyone at home would automatically be more immersed. It's actually crazy how much of a difference it makes. It's not for everybody that wants it, but yeah, it was like came up with the idea to build it, and then I think it was my dad I was talking to, and he's like, "You're gonna film that, right? You should show people like how you built it." I'm like, "No, nobody wants it. No one wants to see this stupid thing I built."
Those be the videos that do good.
And the video was really popular, and then I think it was really cool. I think at the very least, what it did was, I went out. I was getting comments, and people were like, "Oh, I see what you're doing, but I'm gonna go do it differently." I'm like, "Yeah, go," and share it. Share it on our group, and that's kind of how the group got born. But it's cool. I got some skills.
You got some skills,
creative.
Man. I'm telling you.
I get creative. I love tinkering with stuff. Like when I come up with something, how to modify something on the rig. Like that's the thing about sim racing, and a lot of people will say the same thing, is that you can really kind of get creative. Like everyone has their little things on their rig that are their little special touch, and I think that's awesome.
Jeff just built the fuselage for his rig, wrapped it in carbon fiber. Yeah,
that's sweet. I love that.
I do mostly formula racing, so I was like, how can I make this thing feel more like a formula cockpit, if you will?
Yeah, it
like
came out really nice. So it's good to have him around because he helps me out with the little things like that because I'm
Yeah.
not good at it.
I mean, to your point, how you said you didn't have anybody around, like I'm super lucky when I got into it. Like Jason legitimately lives, what, less than a mile away? What are the odds? Like the other night,
If
I
I
took my
yell
bike over there
loud enough.
and we had a couple cocktails and watched the Formula One race, and I took the bike home, so I don't have to worry about a couple cocktails. Yeah, but it's super nice having somebody close by. So
yeah.
Yeah, maybe at some point, that we all meet with each other, like a big
yeah,
expo. I'm always dreaming about that. I don't know if we have one in
Yeah,
the
that'd be cool.
U.S. or
There you got, I forget the name of the show. It's more about,
Gamescom.
no. It's a show that's more about the motorsports industry, but it's starting to become really popular for sim racing too, because naturally people that are in motorsports and pro drivers. I forget the name of the show. But
it's
anyways,
not SEMA, is it?
it's another
No.
show. But
Motor Trend. It's not Motor Trend, right? I don't know if that's
no,
ours. I think that's a
no.
European.
I'm gonna think about it as soon as we turn this off the cameras.
Right.
Oh no, it's okay.
Yeah.
We'll
But,
add that in the description below.
It's one that I want to go to because it's not that very hard for me to go to the States. Like I'm going to Germany actually this year for the ADAC, which is I'm getting nervous about it. It's like in 6 weeks, and I've never been to Germany, so that's going to
Oh,
be
you're gonna have a
wild.
blast, bro.
I know it's
You're
I'm
gonna have a
actually
blast. Just relax.
I'm really looking forward to it. But I mean, I get anxiety traveling on a normal day, but yeah, I'm really excited about it. And I'm taking my dad with me, which is going to be really cool because, it's because of him I'm got into all this stuff, and
Right.
I'm looking forward to sharing the hobby with him a little bit more. Like he kind of like gets it, but I don't think he knows like the size of like what this is and all the different companies and what's out there. Like I'm going to throw him in a bunch of motion rigs when we get there and see what
Yeah.
happens. And it's a really important trip for him and me because he's been going on a lot of different health battles lately, and he's finally in a place where he can travel again. So we're both really looking forward to kind of spending that time together, and I'm looking forward to sharing the experience with him there.
Man, that's
So
nice.
yeah, it's going to be cool. But yeah, maybe we all four of us can try to meet up somewhere in the States at some point. That would
Yeah,
be
man.
cool.
That'd be cool.
It's got to be something in Vegas because Vegas is like the king of marketing, and when you want to show something off, you bring it to Vegas. So I'm
Yep.
I don't know why it's not that there's nothing like it yet, or that I know of.
It's tough because all the manufacturers most of them are based in Europe and Asia, right?
Yeah,
So
true.
this is the reason why but I think like we saw it at Gamescom this year, which I think this is going to increase, is like the presence of sim racing at a Gamescom like that. I haven't
Yeah.
seen that before. Like Moza showed up with all their new shiny stuff and a big, booth. You guys covered it on, I think, the last episode. But I think we'll see that. I think we're going to see sim racing enter more of these like games conferences, but I think it'll
Yep.
be a while before we see a dedicated sim racing conference in North America, just to the sheer fact that geography wise, like these guys' head offices are all, and manufacturing is in Europe and Asia. So,
Yeah.
And
in
to set
Germany,
everything
a
up,
lot of them are
right?
in Germany too. So that's why it's in Germany. Right?
Yeah. And the U.S. market is it's growing, but I mean,
It is.
But
It is.
compared to like just motorsports in general, in UK and Asia, it doesn't compare over here yet.
Yeah, European market is crazy. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
if I look at my viewer demographics, it's like US, just because you guys are massive, and there's a market there for sim racing. So it's like US, and then Germany, UK, Australia, and then like Canada, my home country, is like fifth, unfortunately, just because we're
Yeah.
smaller. But yeah, it's Germany and Italy. Like those are really popular places for sim racing. I can tell from the demographics
yeah.
that watch my channel.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Hey, so I got a quick question, kind of follow up to we were talking about the expos. Is somebody you're so tied in with kind of the industry. What do you see as like the next big advancement, if you will, in sim racing?
yeah, it's a big question, Jeff. I think what's great is as more companies have entered now the space, we're seeing more innovation, right? We're seeing more options at that mid-range level. which I think is fantastic, which is making it easier for people to get into sim racing, right? There's a lot of better entry level stuff coming out right now, mid range. There's still crazy high end stuff, but that mid range is really interesting of what we're seeing, right? I don't know. The next big thing, I mean, VR is still really is very popular in sim racing still. I haven't really
Yes.
personally gravitated to VR like as my primary method of sim racing yet, for a lot of reasons. Comfort. I still, even with some of the advanced headsets that are out there, I don't think the resolution and the frames are still
It's not ready.
when it's
Yeah.
comparable to triples. And with hardware that, you know, I think you're still going to need top end computer hardware, but when we can get to a point where it's kind of starts to get even out, and the headsets are lighter, like I think the big screen beyond was the smallest one I've seen, but still
Mhm.
has compromises, right? So until we
Yeah.
can put on a glasses sized headset with zero compromises, like I think we're going to see that leap in VR. Like, I don't feel like VR has gone through this quantum leap. And I don't know, some people might know more about this than me. I'm just speculating, obviously. But I think
Yeah.
VR is going to become more attainable and more popular in sim racing. But I think there's a lot on the software side that we can see advancements on when it comes to the
Right.
sims themselves, right? Or how those can get smarter and better, and how are they going to implement all these new AI technologies into the software side of things could be really interesting to see. So
It'll be cool. Like my problem, see, my thing with VR is you spend all this money on a wheel and all these peripherals that are around you, and then you strap on a headset where you just can't see anything. You know what I mean?
yeah, well, because we've built out our
Yep.
rig for the purpose of seeing it and experiencing it.
Right.
Now, if I was to start over again and build, like, I kind of experimented it with the test rig here for a while. I kind of had it as a VR rig, so
Mhm.
it didn't matter what was on it. It was more about all the feelings. And so I would build out a rig completely different, and then that could, you know, that if that becomes a popular thing, you'll see hardware manufacturers come out with wheels that are more important for like tactile feeling and knowing which, like, almost maybe they'll have like braille on them to kind of know, to signal what buttons are which. It will be less about looks and it'll be more about feel and functionality, right? Because that will become more of a priority maybe.
Well, I
So
think,
Yeah.
I mean, with AI tools and stuff like that, like maybe because VR headset has a ton of cameras on it. So maybe
yep.
they can figure out a way to bring in your personal wheel in like a,
Yeah, like an AR
yeah,
kind of.
like an AR
Yeah.
No, I
experience.
thought about that. Yeah, I've
That
thought
way,
about
when you
that.
look
That would be
down, you
great.
can see your wheel. You
Yep.
can
That
see
would be
your
crazy.
screens. That would change the game right there, I
Hey,
think.
that
No,
would be
yeah,
crazy.
that's the thing is
Yeah.
I don't think we even know what's next. I think that's going to happen for sure. I think right
Yeah.
now what we're seeing is a lot of hardware refinement, hardware getting
Right.
better. You
Right.
know, Moza obviously now with, as you know, we knew somebody was going to catch up with something in terms of the active pedal. Um, you know, we don't know. I don't have any information on it, so anything I say is just
No, I was
speculating.
going to ask you that.
I don't know what it's going to cost. I think that
Yeah, that's the
everyone's waiting
question.
for that.
Yep.
I don't, and so like I said, I don't have any information. This is just me talking. I don't think it's going to be as cheap as what people think, but I also
Mm-hmm.
know it's going to be. Not know for sure, but I believe it's going to be more or less than SimiCube for sure. I mean,
Honestly,
Yeah.
the
wouldn't be
price for
doing
the
it.
SimiCube one, well, I guess we could talk about this offline as well, but
Yeah,
I'm really seriously thinking about getting that brake pedal, just a brake. Um,
yeah.
so I'm
No, it's cool. It's expensive, and I think it's interesting. I think it's good that we're seeing these companies come out with options.
right. I'm just
You know,
waiting on if you get them like in the mail or something, the Moza ones, to do the review and see
yeah,
how they, how much they
I
cost.
probably
And
will. Like, it's like it hasn't
Yeah.
been confirmed, but like with Moza right now, they were in a relationship where
oh,
they
you
they
got you
s-
got
they
ties
send
with
me every
Moza.
new
Okay,
product. Yeah, they
cool.
send me, so I'm on their list of reviewers, which means I automatically get sent. Though they forgot about me on the Vision GS wheel, I had to go, hey, there's the Vision GS
Oh
wheel.
yeah.
Damn.
Everybody got theirs, and they're like, oh, we forgot, we
Oh
missed you.
no.
I'm like, that's okay,
Don't
Moza.
forget, man.
Um, But anyways, I don't know. Like I said, they may send with something like that, because sometimes when the hardware is a little more expensive, the companies will shrink the list of reviewers they send it to, because they just may not have that many review units. So I don't know. Look, I really hope I get one so that I can give all my viewers my thoughts on it, and I can see what it is for myself, and then I'll really be able to make some opinions. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna, like, anyone that thinks it's gonna be like less than $500. I don't know if that's realistic, but I don't know.
Nah.
Maybe I'll be wrong.
I don't think
Yeah.
so, because their products, they range in the how much is their pedals right now? If you're just talking the brake,
Yeah, like I think the CRP2s that I have here are with a clutch, I think is like 500 US still, right?
So
For a
maybe-
full pedal set. So this is going to be $1,000.
Easy,
That's what
easily.
Yeah.
like.
I think we've
And
learned.
if it does what we think it does, like I didn't have hands on them at Gamescom, so I don't know. But if it's pushing back and it's got a force feedback like the active pedal does, because that's the biggest thing. Like the active pedal is not just haptics; it's pushing, it's fighting you, and the ability to set different pedal profiles is, for me, the thing I love about it the most. Like I will switch my pedal profile from a
Yep.
GT4 to a GT3 because a GT4 car has more travel, feels more like a road car.
Preach
and
it,
the
man.
GT3. So it is like that.
I
And
love
if Moza's able to
That-
offer that same adjustability and profiles at a lower price range, then great. I
But
think there'll
who's
still be a
using
market.
them? You know what I mean? Because that valuable data, it's super valuable. Like, Dan Suzuki setups I run on my ACC and iRacing and WRC.
Yeah.
And I take that and that's my baseline, because this guy,
Yeah.
he's a professional driver. You know what I
Well,
mean?
it's the same. Like I run Daniel Morad's GT3 profile, and I've spoken to him before. I speak to him once in a while. We both live in Toronto, and he said like this profile is like the closest to my real AMG GT3, and it's like, all right, I'll take your word for it.
What?
That's cool. Like
He's a
I'm
real,
not gonna-
Exactly.
he's a real
like,
driver.
and so
Let me jump
for
in there and
me,
be the judge of that.
though I encourage, like a lot of people, I would encourage people, like, play with settings and profiles, because to get the best performance out of yourself, you may not be fast on Daniel Morad's profile, but
All right.
for someone like me, it's like, to take the time to set up something, I will, but when I jump in the AMG GT3, I'm like, I'm just going to use Daniel's profile because this is what it probably feels like in the car. So that's cool to know, right? Like that's just cool to know. So, and that's kind of what we're all here. We're just kind of pretend, right? A little bit for fun.
Yeah, for sure, man. And now with this 360 hertz of feedback on iRacing,
Yeah, it feels good.
game changing. Seriously, that did it for me.
Yeah,
All
so I
right.
think it's cool. I think we're going to see, a little bit of innovation and some copying, but it's all fair.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
all good. I think
Yeah.
it's better for us as the consumers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean we're the ones that are benefiting from this, from other companies making things and making different things and throwing it in the mix. And you
Yeah.
got a company like SimMagic that's just watching everything, and
Yep.
they'll come out with something which we're hoping, right? But
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're crazy. Right
Yeah,
now.
there's a market for every, there's going to be that market still for SimiCube that they're going to still have their unique things that they do, and choices are good. Choices are good. So we can all just get on the track and race each other at whatever budget we can afford, that, an experience we want to have. So I think it's all a good thing that the industry is growing and the options are
Right.
growing, and it makes it more important for reviewers like myself to really take a critical look at these things too, right? Because it's a lot harder to make these decisions, and you can't go try these things. Like you can't just go down
Yeah.
the street and go to the
Yeah.
SimRacing store and try like 5 sets of pedals, right?
Right.
So
I
I
wish.
take what I do with
I wish.
with a really big sense of responsibility too, that I am someone who gets access to review units, and I don't ever take that lightly. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I know there's people out there that are looking for different perspectives. So I just try to give my perspectives on it. And sometimes they'll be different than another person's, and that's okay. That's why I always say, watch like 5 reviews. Watch more than one review when you want to buy something, right?
And you still don't
Yep.
know. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you watch 5 different reviews, and you still have to take that risk with some amount of money. But
Yeah, for sure. But that's where it comes down to, you look at the things that are being repeated in reviews, the good things, the bad
right.
things, if they're coming up. And,
Mm-hmm.
I think people are starting to get a sense of brands and brand quality. There's starting to become like an expectation with certain brands of what you're going to get, but you still have to look critically at everything.
Well said, man. I mean, I still appreciate that. I appreciate the honesty because you're helping the community by having access to these things, right? And you're
Yeah.
actually giving your honest opinion and like really testing them out. Like when you mentioned that you had a wall full of wheels, right? And
Yep.
then you also followed up with that you actually go to your wheels and you compare. That's very, I always thought that reviewers were like, oh yeah, just look at my wheel collection back there and this is back there.
Yeah.
But when you
No.
say that you actually go up to them and you put them in your hands and you feel the flex and you touch buttons and to make sure that you can give a fair comparison is actually amazing. I think I respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's the reason why, and I will never sell hardware or financially gain from review units that I'm sent for free. If I get rid of something, I'll be probably just giving it away to somebody that needs it, or in some form of a giveaway. I don't know how I'll do that, but the thing is that I do keep a lot of things in storage here, so, especially pedals, because what happens is a new pedal set comes out. You want to go back and try some other pedals and run through some comparisons. So it's good to have them here, and that's kind of why having these things is useful. It doesn't, it's not to flex. Like the wheels look cool. Like obviously I set up the pegboard with the wheels because it looks cool. It's a sim racing studio. Why who wouldn't do that?
It's just the perception,
Yeah,
the perception.
I think people they see something and they don't really. Yeah, of course it looks cool. Of course, is it a privilege to have these wheels? Absolutely. But I try to make the best out of what I've got here and the experiences and the opportunities to try to do something really cool with this channel and do something that's helpful. And and I like making videos that I think look nice. And so that's why my production and the way I do it is because I just enjoy that process, that creative process. So, and I try to fill that with as much information. But I think you and I, Jason, we talked about, like, I really want to show close-ups of a lot of products. Like, I want you to see the grain on the metal and the buttons so that you really know, like, what you're buying is like what it's going to look like up close when you get it in the light, not just like a marketing shot that is in the dark and you can't really see the wheel. So I try to,
and all its imperfections.
Yeah,
or
if you're
whatever.
gonna send me a product review, you're gonna get some close-up shots. So
yeah, you
better look good. Yeah.
All right, man. Wow, I'm ecstatic that you're here. First of all, thank you so much. Wow, I don't know what to say right now, guys. Do you have any more questions for Michael?
I have one question.
Yeah.
What color is your ASR Pro?
It's just the infinite black. Like
Infinite black.
At the time, they only had the green color, which I was not going to get.
That's the one I see everywhere.
It looks cool. I've seen it up close at ASR. Actually, a friend of mine, I helped him build a setup for his son, and we ordered the white one for him. Ooh. And the white one looks fire. Like it's. I don't know. It might be hard to keep clean. Like if you scratch it, it's going to be noticeable. So you got to be careful with it.
Yeah,
but
that was
the white one looks cool. But yeah, I've got the infinite black. It's got a bit of a metallic finish. So I compare it to like a car. The way ASR does their finish, like they have an actual like paint booth for cars at their factory, and they clear coat it, and it's like really protected. So
yeah, I got the ASR 1. That's my first rig. It's still what I'm on right now. Yeah, that's cool.
I looked at those. It's just they wouldn't ship to Hawaii. That was the problem.
Oh, they didn't? I wonder if they do now. I don't know. I mean, what's cool about them, and they were like free shipping in North America. Like anything.
That's why I picked
them.
For the
that's
lower
pretty,
48, bro.
yeah, well, that's tough. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of places that are
Lower 48
outside of
problems, man.
There's
that
nobody that feels
boundary.
bad for us.
I know.
No.
I feel bad.
Do you want to live over there? Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Need to
some
live on a
places are
postcard
tough.
every day.
Oh,
Yeah.
snap. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, there's a trade-off, right?
Hey, Michael, I
Yeah.
got one more question. I always
Yeah,
think it's
sure.
interesting. We did this around the table the other day. Is you got 30 minutes. What game? What track?
Mm.
And what's your if you got 30 minutes, jump in the rig. What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes I only have 30 minutes. Um, I mean, I'm a Porsche guy, so for me, I love driving right now the Porsche 911 GT3 R992, so like the latest generation. And my favorite track is Spa. I've always loved Spa.
Ooh.
My man.
Spy
Wait.
guys.
iRacing, right? iRacing?
Oh, yeah. So I'm like, I should have started with that. iRacing is my go-to sim.
Okay.
Like, obviously, like when I test hardware, I do jump in a lot of different sims. But when it comes to me personally, I still prefer iRacing over everything. It just feels right to me. It just feels good. There's something about it. The graphics, yes, we all know they need work. It looks like it's coming.
You kind of forget about the graphics, though. You
You do.
do.
Like, I mean, look, they're not.
You focus on the track and just,
They could be worse, but they could be
They
better.
could be worse, he says.
But there's been some improvements for sure, but you do forget about it because a lot of times when you're in your rig, you're looking at your wheel and you become immersed in the racing. And because it feels so, if it didn't feel as good as it did, they probably would not be doing well. But everybody knows that like competitive racing and what you get from iRacing, yes, it costs money, but they're developing that game regularly, right? Like
it's a training tool.
We're getting up. Yeah, it is. I mean, and I've talked to a number of different pro drivers that are heavy into sim racing, and the answer is always the same: iRacing. So there's a reason. They said it's not perfect either. Like they've made criticisms about certain aspects of and certain cars they've said feel better than others. And Daniel Moore had said the same thing with like certain cars he's driven in real life and then drove it in iRacing. He's like, it's not quite like that, but the AMG is pretty good. But so I don't know. For me, iRacing, Spa, Porsche 911, probably do like a GT3 race. But the other thing, I love doing multi-class, like GT4s with the LMP3s. It's a nightmare sometimes.
It's a death trap, man.
It's a death trap, but I like being in the GT4s and I just try to get out of the way for the prototypes.
You see them flying by?
Yeah. I mean, I like driving. So I really like driving the LMP3. I like being the prototype guy too. And I kind of go back and forth. But yeah, Spa is always my favorite track. You'll notice if you watch any of my reviews, especially when I'm testing new hardware, I use Spa a lot just because it gives me a consistent platform when I'm testing different hardware to see how they feel.
Makes sense.
So, yeah, and Spa is one of the tracks I know the best.
And Spa just got
You drove the new track?
Worked
the
on.
update, the refresh?
I haven't done it yet. Actually, I haven't done it yet.
What are you waiting for, bro?
I know. Well, I've been busy. I'm doing this right now.
He's been busy. I'm a big fan. I think it's great.
I'm going on it today. I'm gonna probably.
It is worth it. It's worth your time.
Yeah.
So go
I gotta
ahead
keep
and
testing the CRP2 pedal. So I think I'm gonna hit Spa and try out the new scan or whatever.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they did. They did a really good job, and it doesn't really. I thought that when they start updating graphics, that it might bog down the system a little bit, but it didn't. Nothing. I didn't notice anything. It's just beautiful now and up to date. And probably it's the only game that has like the latest version of Spa because they change all the time. Little things here and there change.
Yeah, they do change. I mean, they changed some things on Eau Rouge, I think, for the safety.
Yeah, you're racing on a 2010 version now.
Yeah, it's not
before
what,
this.
What it looks like today. So yeah, I think it's cool what they're doing. I mean, they go out and they've got drones and they scan these things. Like, so that's the thing. Like, yes, iRacing is expensive, but I don't know. I mean, it seems like they're doing a lot. I mean, they're pretty transparent. They're always sharing their development updates and what they're working on. They're picking up and hiring developers from these big game studios to come work for them.
Right.
They're I mean, they're making a lot of money. Like they're doing fine. But I feel like they're trying to develop it. They're trying to improve it. They know the graphics are not great. We're gonna get there. I mean, it's gonna put a little bit of strain on some people's hardware, and I think that's one of the things they said they were trying to balance, like with like not trying to like isolate some people that are on lower hardware, because you
Right.
can run iRacing on lower hardware, and that's a nice advantage. But to keep up, eventually there's gonna have to be a compromise, a give and a take, right? And that's just how it goes, right? If you
Right.
want,
You have to keep up, you know?
yeah.
So,
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think it's exciting what they're doing. They're
all
always
right.
pushing out new stuff.
Wow, man. So, I mean, my only question for you, my only final question was the Moza active pedals, and that was I was hoping that you had them yet, or
No, I have no information. I don't think actually.
just making
I don't
sure.
know if anyone has them yet. They maybe some of the other reviewers have got one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely curious to try it, because I mean, I definitely am always, when I get products that are sort of like firsts, it's always more interesting, right? You test so many of the same types of things and there's different variations, but I always find it interesting and exciting to try sort of first products. Like the first time I tried active pedals was, really interesting, because it's like, okay, this is like a new thing. Even like the seatbelt thing, I'd never tried a seatbelt thing. I'm like, this is going to be different. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they're like. I know a lot of people are really looking forward to this, because they're thinking this is an attainable active pedal for less money. So
Right.
we'll see what that means and what that is.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, I just want to, on behalf of the podcast here, I want to thank you for making the time today to come out here and have
my
a conversation with us. It's been an absolute blast the whole way. And the fact that you emailed us a few weeks prior, or not even like 2 weeks prior to this recording, and recognizing a smaller group of content creator, it really opened my heart to it. I probably read it maybe 5 or 6 times, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. Like, so just by seeing you here now, sitting down with us in a virtual space, by the way, is amazing. I just wanted to thank you. And if there's anything else, do you have anything else for us? Is there anything you want to ask the Chicane Podcast?
No, I mean, I just want to say the same thing. Like, thank you. It's been my pleasure to come on and be a guest. I think, the way you guys go about this is incredibly professional and really, really cool. But at the core, I can see how much fun you guys are having and the friendship that you guys have made. So appreciating you letting me kind of be a part of it today and welcoming me on. And so, yeah, I'm so glad I reached out to you. I think that's how these things happen. And I'm sure I'd like to keep a relationship with you guys, keep in touch. The one thing I wanted to just shout out was the SimRacing Setups group. So if you want to, I would encourage anyone listening, they want to come share their setup, get some, feedback, or, talk some stuff out with other sim racers. We try to make it a really welcoming environment. I want to shout out my moderators, Daniel, Matt, and Amit. I could not manage that sim racing group without them. They tirelessly are in there trying to keep it clean. We really try to keep it clean in terms of spam and just harassment, bullying, just nonsense.
All of it.
It's a little hard on Facebook or any platform, but I'm telling you, we really we'll dig into conversations and find those nasty comments. And it's like if the comment's really bad or the attitude is just wrong, it's like, nope, you're out. No 3 strikes. It's like I think by taking that approach, we've tried to really keep it a welcoming place, and a lot of people have said that it is. So I'm happy and proud of what that group has grown to. So I would encourage anyone, come share your setup, come say what's up, post a picture of your setup. Doesn't matter if you got motion or you're starting your first setup, you made it out of wood in your garage. We want to see it, man. We want to see it, because we all start somewhere. So
Okay.
SimRacing Setups on Facebook, and check out the SimRacing Den on YouTube if you like, and come check out some
I'll
of the
add all of
reviews.
those in the description For sure.
So,
Yeah, and I can personally attest to the SimRacing setup group when I first was going to dive in deep talking to Jason. You know, he is, when you talked about being a salesman, I'm like, Jason,
my
this
God.
is calling because
It's-
he can sell water.
We
to the
can't go an
drowning
episode,
man.
Eric. We
Yeah.
can't.
Bro,
It's either you or Jeff, or it's like
look,
someone's getting sold on something.
he'll blame me
I'm
for
telling
him.
you, man.
Yeah.
But
Well-
just doing research, especially with the Fanatec stuff that was going on, the SimRacing setups group was great. For one, it was so big, but also just getting to see everybody set up, just combinations of things. But also the thing that kind of stuck out to me, even before you mentioned it, was it's one of the groups where there's no like real toxicity. If you guys have 116,000 members in there, and it be on Facebook, and you go in there and people post, I mean, you just create an environment where people post everything. So the guy that built a custom rig out of wood, the guy that went to the junkyard and snatched a dash out of a car and built something that looked like a Beetle.
Man, when I scroll through
It's
the
crazy.
photos, it is wild. Like I'm just so impressed sometimes with the level of like craftsmanship and creativity. Like some of the setups I see, it's like I get lost in there. But yeah, if you're trying to avoid spending money, also don't spend too much time in there because you're gonna see some stuff and you're
careful.
like
Yeah,
even
definitely
I saw a couple setups. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I never thought about doing that. Like, so that's honestly what I wanted it to be. The group started off as somewhere to just sort of wanted a place for my viewers to share their setups and discuss, and it became more than that. So like I said, I couldn't do it without the moderators. Like we really try to keep that toxicity out and try to make it a better place, and that takes a lot of work. Like we're in there, I get 5 minutes for a coffee, I'm in there like checking posts. Like it's like an all day thing, honestly.
So yeah, we appreciate it, man.
Cool, yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad to hear that.
All right then, with that, again, I just want to say thank you again, and thank you all for listening as well. Please email us at the Chicane Podcast at gmail.com, and have a great start of your week. Thank you.